making fun of other people's videos, which I always love to do. Our friend Jim Rice, which was always a good topic. You'll meet him soon enough.
Great topic.
Yeah, it's a great topic. The birds fart, cheese, bourbon, cameras. Again, so it's a solid list.
It is.
It's a
it
solid
has a lot
list.
to do with farming.
But we're going to ignore this list almost completely because there's a we have the elephant in the room.
Did the intro music already happen?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So usually we do more than one of these a month, but we had our rare camera auction in November, and then the holidays in December, and now of course we're still in the middle of this pandemic. Anyway, we thought
people are hungry for a good comical Leica video.
they are. They're in the
Because
market.
the internet, I don't know if you noticed lately, but the internet has been flooded with really boring.
Oh, the agony of it all. Yeah, no, I've noticed. I've
Okay.
watched a few videos here and there, and we're not going to single anybody out. I think you probably don't know who you are anyway. But there's some really boring shit out there. And that's fine. You know, one of the things well, let's give credit where it's due. There's some stuff that lots of people do way better than we do. Like, there's some people who do really super high technical.
Photography.
Right, like photography for one. There are people who get really deep into the nitty-gritty and the very high-tech, very technical aspects of these cameras, and we don't. There's lots of videos out there that do a really good job of that, which is one of the reasons that you probably won't hear us talking about some of the more sophisticated features of the new, for example, the new M11, which is the elephant in the room. We're going to get to that in a minute. Like pixel binning. Okay, I said it. Pixel binning. We're done. Get out and make pictures. There's lots of...
Barnack hour. Barnack didn't have to...
He had a bin.
He didn't have pixel, whatever.
No, he didn't have pixel binning. He had a bin, and it was full of stuff, but he didn't have pixel binning.
The good thing is a lot of the people who like to talk about that detailed stuff really like to talk.
Which is
So,
fine.
there you go.
And that's hours of entertainment.
It's out there.
Yeah, it's out there, exactly. So, I mean, we're definitely about answering questions. So if there's a question that we can answer, we're happy to. But I think for those of you who have watched some of our videos before or who are watching this video and watch successive videos, we don't get too far into the real nitty-gritty of all of the technicalities and technical aspects of the camera, because we just like taking pictures and we just like Leica, and we're not that into it. Into the high-tech stuff.
Talk about me.
So what did you say? So here's the elephant in the room is the M11. Leica last week introduced the next generation of M camera bodies based more or less on the M10 platform. And we'll do a few things. We'll talk a little bit about it, but this is the new M11. And so this is the new M11 with the new VisoFlex electronic viewfinder. What was it that you said?
It's big.
It's kind of big, huh?
It is kind of big.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrific. It's really bright. It's got this little magnet thingy here. It's really cool. So this is the new M11. We're gonna talk about this. And we're going to talk about some other stuff. We got some requests from viewers.
Can I vent before we talk about it?
Absolutely.
So I possibly might have got into an exchange with an internet troll over the last week or two. And my point was, there was this, everybody's either, oh my God, there's no base plate, or there is a base plate,
yes.
or it's too many pixels, or it's not enough pixels, or, so-and-so has this sensor that's triple, whatever, blah, blah. It's a Leica M camera.
Yeah.
Right? So here is my contention on the interwebs.
And the interwebs.
It was that this is about an experience. This is about shooting with a camera. If you want to have all of the tech in camera, HDR, super EVF viewfinder, blah, 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 the rangefinder's probably not for you.
That's right. And also...
And go buy a Sony Alpha.
Yeah, and also, like for
Beta
autofocus...
Omicron.
Exactly. Go get the Sony Alpha Omicron. It is still true to the rangefinder principle. And the one thing that they're not going to change, and that always remains the same in all of the Leica cameras, even from the Leica 2 in the 1930s, is that rangefinder principle. And so it is still at heart an M camera that way. Let's take
And
this thing off.
you can use all your film. You can use all your lenses with this.
You can use all your lenses. That's right.
And, you know, so my contention on there was, you know, relax a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
take it outside, use it, shoot
Yeah.
some pictures with it.
Exactly.
And stop worrying about whether, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's got 60 megapixels, right?
I see it the same way. I mean, it's a really fantastic tool. The most important part is that it takes the M lenses. I mean, look, optics make the image to begin with. So if you put a piece of shit lens on the M11, you're going to get a piece of shit image. You know, if you put a Leica lens on a shoebox, you're going to get a Leica image. So, you know, make of that what you will. And now, that's not to say that there isn't something very special about shooting with the Leica rangefinder. I mean, Keith and I both absolutely fell in love with it. Right. Keith coming from the Canon system, and my coming from primarily Pentax, Brownie, right? I had Pentax K1000. I mean, that was the camera that I used for a long time, and then eventually got a Leica, which I fell in love with. But anyway, this is not to say that there's no value in having a Leica rangefinder camera. There definitely is, and the feel of them is really non-pareil, as they say. I spoke French. It's unparalleled, and so while optics,
what I got in trouble for is saying, keep your EVF. Because I was like, I don't want to lose the rangefinder.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And Leica has said over and over again, they're not going to introduce the range for the EVF in the M. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but not.
Who knows? But likewise, and so I prefer to use the camera like this. I mean, I do think that there is something about the design of this new one as opposed to the design of the previous one that's maybe a little more in keeping with the shape of the camera. I mean, you definitely have these rounded edges here on the Leica M and the rounded edges of the previous EVF. But there's something...
Was the old EVF originally made for the T? Or was that...
Yeah, this EVF...
That's maybe why the design cues are so...
That might be.
Round.
Yeah. I have here a sample, and I thought, Keith hasn't seen it yet, and I'm still pretty new to this camera myself, and so I thought I'd show off some of the things about this camera, as much for you all as for Keith. Because we haven't seen each other for a little while, man. You were traveling.
Pre-Omicron.
Right, pre-Omicron, that's right. You were traveling, we had the holidays. We haven't seen each other in like months. But anyway, here's the new camera.
So let's talk about texture. Because
Did you feel that?
Yeah, is that the same as the Reporter was?
It's super duper close. It's almost like a Cerakote or a powder coat kind of thing. It does have a very, very, very slight texture to it as compared to, well, this is silver, but the chrome, regular, very smooth chrome. And so, well, since I have a silver camera here, this is a film camera, but it's going to serve to show the brass top and silver finish that the M11 comes in, or the new black paint finish, which is really not so black painty as us Leica people know it, you know? So this is the typical black paint, shiny and lacquered aluminum. That's right. So this is an aluminum top plate, and it is very scratch resistant. It's very similar to the Reporter finish, and this is what they're calling the new black paint finish, and it's supposedly scratch resistant. This is not my camera, it's my Leica Reps camera, so I have not put it through its paces. But ordinarily, you know, I take a little Brillo pad, or you know, I do something stupid like that. So a little sandpaper and see what. But let's take a look at it. So here we have the previous model. This is the M10R, and so they're very similar. You notice that there's no function button here on the M10R. This has M11 has 3 function buttons. It's got one on the back, it's got one on the top, and it's got one on the wheel, which now can be pressed. And those are all programmable.
Some days I can barely function, so having 3 function buttons
can be really helpful. Right, game on. You know, you choose your ISO. Everything is pretty much the same. A little bit more simplified on the back, slightly smaller screen. This is now push feature as well as a navigation wheel. So that's a nice little bit of business there. But here's the thing that most people have been so curious about is no base plate. So the previous cameras that we've been using...
I just invested in a base plate company. And
yeah, bought stock, did you? Yeah.
Now I feel
now it's going to tank.
So.
There's one more thing to lose or break, but I got to tell you, I love the base plate on the M camera, and I kind of miss it on the M11. But you'll get used to anything. But it's kind of cool. You know, it's weather sealed. It has this little battery dealio here, which won't fall out until you tap it. 67% more juice.
It's a big battery.
Yeah, it's a big battery and takes a long time to charge. There is also an Apple-style cable that comes with the camera. And when you get the box, it's got very Apple-like inscriptions on it too. And on the box, it actually says, wait, where does it say it? Made for iPhone and iPad. Can you get that? Yeah. So this
is a very Apple Pro cable.
It's a very expensive cable. So if you get your hands on one of these cute little M11 cameras, you might want to invest in another one of them suckers because it's easy to lose. It's easy to lose, and it's expensive to replace. But anyway, so you can charge in camera. You can use the camera while you're charging. It's a really terrific little item. Also, the charger nugget where the battery goes in, whoops, is super cute.
What's on the back of that? Is that USB-C?
And it's the same thing, USB-C.
Really
so
nice.
it really is.
I can charge it with my laptop charger.
And you can charge it with your laptop charger. So for folks who use Apple devices, this is a real win in a lot of ways. It's a real win. In the function of the camera, I mean, they made no less than 50, I think, new improvements to the camera, slight changes and improvements. Some of the things, again, lots of people are going to do full reviews and are going to talk about all kinds of technical shit. I want to talk about the stuff that probably people haven't been talking about.
Where Leica went wrong.
Where
the M11 story.
But I want to talk about a technical aspect of this camera that other folks probably have not touched on. Now, I'm going to say some things.
That's the warning right there.
Right, that's the disclaimer. I'm going to say some things, and nothing has been proven. Hey, do you guys do you guys have a dual range lens back there that I can try? Ba-beep, ba-beep, ba-beep. Any kind, yeah, they're like, oh, what's he going to do now? All right, so.
Offset, do you have a camera?
Any cameras back there?
I bet that was loud.
They're used to this. I'm a pretty loud guy. So this is the M10R. This is the predecessor. And when you see the insides of these cameras, you notice right away that we have a black, gray, and white shutter curtain, right? You can see that, right? That on an average is 18% gray. And then inside the camera, which you won't really be able to see, but right on the underside of the lens mount, underneath the lens, is a little sensor, and that's what does the meter reading. And, oh, dude, that's great. Thank you very much. Sensitive. I appreciate it. Just roll that sucker over to me. Thanks, buddy.
Or toss it.
Thank
what
you.
The hell? It's just
it needs a CLA. So this is a vintage lens that I forgot to bring over here before we started. So you see that immediately. You see a shutter curtain. When I turn the M10R on, I'm hoping this has a battery, does it?
How would you know? Because it's got a base plate. You can't tell.
Right, you can't see.
It's so inefficient.
See there, it's so inefficient. Shit, now I need a battery. Oh wait, I have one right here. All right, so here, I'll use this camera instead, because this one has a battery.
All right, we're starting over now.
So when you start up the camera, this is also an M10R. When you start up the camera, what happens?
You're ready to take a picture.
Right, a little light goes on the back for a second.
An angel earns their wings.
Ding, ding. Ding. Now, when you turn on...
God, I hope this is going somewhere.
I know, I do too.
This is
so
exciting.
Now, you see what I'm talking about?
I do.
So you have the shutter.
Can you zoom in on this? This is important.
Yeah, you have the shutter, and then on this one, you don't have any of that because it doesn't need to have the little sensor for metering because it's going to meter everything right through the sensor.
Right through the sensor.
Right through the sensor.
That has got to be better.
That people say it is. Now, I never had any problems or any difficulties with the old way, and so...
But you're above average.
Then again, exactly, I'm above average. However, the reason for this difference is because we need to see the sensor. And so, let's do this again. What happens when you turn on the M10R? A little light goes on the back and then it goes out. It's silent. Nothing. And then you can make a picture, right? Now that we turn on the M10, M11.
11. We're up to 11.
This one goes to
Here we go.
11. You ready?
Sounds like live view is coming on, right?
Exactly.
Gets the shutter out of the
and
way.
then Joe, my cameraman Joe, we're looking right at the sensor, right? There it is in all its glory.
Dust is just
And it's
getting on there.
metering. Yeah, exactly. It's metering. It's doing all the things that it needs to do directly through its sensor. Look, inside this camera, there's no baffles, there's no bullshit. And so this is the dual range Summicron lens, which was not so good for these earlier cameras. And it wasn't so good for them because they had baffles in there that the lens would interfere with. This particular lens has a part that goes into the camera, protrudes into the camera body and can interfere, can actually ruin your camera. So I'm gonna mount it in a safe way. And because there's so much more space on the interior of the M11, let's see if I break my rep's camera. Yeah, I don't like that at all.
I feel like
So-
the person who's editing this video really needs to add some dramatic music here.
Oh, this is where it's gonna be. So here's a word to the wise.
There you go.
Don't try to mount a dual range Summicron on an M11 camera unless you're in the near focus range or you're gonna ruin your camera. There's your answer. You learn something new every day. So I'm in the near focus range, so I don't have that crazy thing here. But if I was in the regular focus range, it won't even mount. So, but this brings us to another point of the M11 and this new sensor and 60 megapixel. They're saying about the camera that the resolution that you can get with older lenses, the resolution that you get with older lenses is really terrific, and there's every reason to use older lenses with this new camera, whether it's at the 60 megapixel mark, the 36 or the 18. And that the newest APO lenses are really going to shine. That makes sense to me.
So that's my next rant. I think I'm ready for it. I'm ready for rant number 2.
All right, bring it on.
This is great for everyone because those M240s are going to be a little bit better priced.
Yeah,
Everyone's going to have an entryway into the system.
that's right.
You don't have to buy the M11 because here's the thing. A lot of people online, their first comment was $9,000. Woo!
Yeah. Totally understandable.
But think about it. M10, M10R, M10P, M240, all of those cameras are out there, and there's a lot of people who are going to buy these, and they're
That's
going to be
right.
out there available. And
That's right.
And that's a great, spend your money on the lens and get one of those cameras and get into the system because
That's right.
they stay so true to the experience, right?
That's right.
And so you get the experience no matter what. It's just here you get some more
That's right.
pixels and angels and
That's right, an angel gets its wings.
Yeah.
So, but here's what I want you to notice, what I noticed about the advertising for the new M11 that has not been present in earlier advertisements. And it goes back to what you said earlier about the M experience, about the whole experience of holding an M camera. Many of their advertisements have this kind of action. There's a hand reaching for the camera. There's a hand putting the camera down. The camera is on the shoulder adjacent to a hand doing other. So some of the advertising that they're doing is very much related, less about the object on a pedestal and more in its interaction with you and with the person that's interacting with it. And in fact, they tell you at Leica, they're like, look, Leica is about, and I think we've said this before on this program, that Leica is about 3 different things. It's about precision German engineering, the finest optics in the world, and the emotion of the thing. Nothing feels like a Leica.
and you don't have that experience with any other camera. And it's funny that they've kind of partnered with Apple now with this connection and stuff, because that's a very Apple thing.
It makes a whole
having
lot
the
of
experience,
sense.
having that sense that it's connected with you, you're at one with it.
And it's
It's hard to get that with a Canon R5.
That's right.
C.
That's right.
/2.
And Androids are terrific phones, and even the Lights phone, which I had, and it's beautiful design, but not as beautiful as Apple. It really is beautiful design. And really it was a matter of time before somebody figured out that a phone can do a camera. Well, that happened a while ago, but now the camera can also kind of be a phone because it connects with the Photos app, and every now and then.
That's not a phone. But I was thinking about this on the way over here, is that this is the kind of camera that you can carry on your walk to work or on your drive to work and not have to worry about, having this massive thing. You don't have to worry about a lot of buttons and menus.
Yeah.
You don't have to think a lot. It just kind of is at one with you, right?
Yeah. Well,
when it comes down to it, it's aperture, shutter speed, and
that's right.
Press the button.
That's the idea, and I think that a lot of the beauty lay in its simplicity, and also, and when you talk to people who use the camera, they say, and people like Matt Stewart and Craig Semetko and Arthur Meyerson, and a lot of these terrific photographers working today, they'll tell you that the camera becomes an extension of you, an extension of your mind, and of your hands. And so I think that probably has a lot to do with Leica's new advertising, and it's really terrific. I mean, the camera's beautiful, the ads are beautiful, they're starting to come in. So we've been delivering these cameras to folks that are on our list. The EVF, jury's still out on that one. They're starting to deliver a little more slowly, and we have to wait until March for a firmware update that will allow the new EVF 2 to work on the M10 platform cameras, but it will. It's just a matter of time till we get that firmware. I kind of like the fact that the M10R doesn't make any noise. I mean, it makes the same noise if you hit live view because the shutter's got to open, but every time with the M11, every time an angel gets its wings, you always hear that click.
Yeah.
Because live view is always on unless you turn it off in the menu. But even so now I've just turned live view off in the menu. I turned the camera off, but because of the way the camera meters and the operation, it's always going to make that sound when you turn it on. Pretty quiet.
Yeah.
It's the same as the M10R. I mean, we have slightly different lenses on here, so they could maybe be muffling or amplifying the sound a little differently, but
we should do a chart on every lens and how much it muffles.
The muffle factor?
The muffle factor. The Noctilux 1.2 is a really good muffler.
Very high muffle factor. Now, we don't try to sell you shit on this show, right? It's just about Leica. If you like Leica, you'll probably enjoy the show.
But for $99, if you click right below. No,
right.
Don't click. Do click. Subscribe now.
Subscribe, yeah. Hit the little bell, the ding-a-ling, and subscribe, and then you'll know when we have more stuff to say. What was I going to say? Oh, so everybody wants the new M11. It's hot shit. That's great. But
there's like 8 people waiting in line.
Yeah, they're waiting
now.
in line right now. But the M10R, a week ago, the M10R was the greatest thing since sliced bread. It still is. So here's my sales plug. We are awash in M10R cameras. Are you thinking about buying an M10R? You should call us. I've got so many of these awesome cameras that I don't know what to do with them all, especially if you want a silver M10R. We got a lot of these cameras. So I think you're gonna see more of these cameras coming into the marketplace, and like Keith was saying earlier, you're gonna see more of the M10s and more of the M240s at really super reasonable prices. But the M10R is the ticket these days. So if you're not so sure that you want the 11, get the R. You'll love it. And
I'll piss off a ton of people right now, but let me tell you that whether it's 24 meg, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, professionals were shooting with 8 megapixels, right?
Right.
They were doing billboards with 8 megapixels.
Right.
So whether it's 24 megapixels in the 10 or the 246 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's 40 megapixels in the R.
Yeah.
Or 60 megapixels in the 11. These cameras are all taking fantastic pictures.
That's right.
And
most of the pictures in the gallery today were taken on 24 megapixel cameras.
And so while I don't want to discourage those people in line right now for this, and I don't want to kill angels, I do want to say that you're going to have a price point that's really good to buy something.
Amazing.
And put the rest of the money into a lens.
And then when people see that you have a camera with a base plate, they'll be like, oh yeah, you're a Leica man, or like a gal, or like a person. Yeah, I definitely love the base plate. all the innovations of the 11 are terrific, and I know that Leica will continue to do terrific R&D and terrific innovations, and it's a real pleasure to be associated with the brand in more ways than just as a customer. But I'll tell you, man, this is an amazing camera, but I like my base plate.
Well, and be excited about the fact that the experience lives on, right? Like they're continuing to innovate, they're continuing to be great, and you can buy this camera 2 years from now, and whatever. But there's some great photography on a 240. There's great photography on an M10, and
absolutely,
there is never a. You can always buy a lot of lenses. There's lenses, man.
Yeah, put the money in lenses.
I mean,
yeah, because optics make the image.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has to have a 35 apo.
Yeah,
everyone.
This is an amazing lens. I got to tell you,
35 apo. I don't have one, but I mean.
So, well, here, let's talk about that.
Does anyone have one? Did they make any of them?
Yeah, we're getting them slowly.
All right.
Yeah. We've delivered half a dozen, maybe. Slowly but surely. So this is the new 35 apo lens, and we're going to leave that.
It's a great segue.
Thank you.
We're leaving the elephant in the room.
We're leaving the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about this lens for a second now.
So many fucking angels flying around here. You got to stop turning that thing on. I hope they beep that out.
So, oh yeah, of course. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll leave a couple in.
Yeah.
So this lens, if you watch the focus ring, you'll see that it has a regular, scrapes and grinds. So that's our close focus at about 0.7 meters, like other Leica lenses. And then it does
more pressure.
This close focus thing.
So is that a macro lens then?
Yeah, well, it's pretty darn close. I mean, you can get within a few inches of your subject. It's kind of crazy, like just under a foot. It's really crazy. But the thing is, in order to use this super duper close focus, you have to use either the electronic viewfinder or you have to use the screen, because it doesn't track in the viewfinder, in the rangefinder. And so, in other words, as soon as I get to the little...
Damn cameras would have an electronic viewfinder, we'd be better off.
Right, then they'd be called Fujis. Right?
Fuji doesn't make the sensor, Sony does, or somebody else does.
Oh my goodness.
Who, what?
So Leica came out and said, don't you worry about who makes the sensor. You don't worry so much about who makes the sensor. It doesn't matter. It's made to Leica specifications. Who cares who made the sensor? I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'm curious too.
If you're worried about what,
I'm curious too, but what does it matter?
Here, this is my argument for that, right? Fuji just released 200 speed film that's made by Kodak.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding. Look it up on the internets. Fuji in the United States, because there's a shortage, supply chain.
That's right. Oh, somebody showed me. There's a local shooter here, a guy super nice. He had a roll of Tri-X that he had just bought, and it came with a silver top because they ran out of black. Have you heard this?
I did not.
Like the regular film, I don't have any film cassettes in front of me because the world's digital right now, but film cassettes, they would be all black and metal or really hard plastic, and they would be all black. Well, they ran out of that part that's stamped, that is the top and bottom of a film canister, and so now they're chromed. It has a really kind of funny look to it. But yeah, that's crazy to me.
I just stopped in a coffee shop here in Chicago the other day, and the barista said, "Is that a film camera?" And I looked at her straight in the eye, and I said, "It is not a f***ing film camera, okay? It's a digital camera. Leave me alone and give me my coffee."
Make with the macchiato.
But
yeah,
I mean, it was didn't really go down.
Your local coffee shop.
Yeah, there every day. She hates me now.
But she knows what kind of camera you shoot.
I gave her your business card.
Good.
She's coming to look at a Leica.
She'll come, exactly. She'll come and look at a camera. Well, good. We want more people to come and look at cameras. We got reader mail.
Oh.
Yeah, we got reader mail. And one of...
Our fans?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, so this nice fella emailed me, Yogi. I hope you're watching, buddy. You emailed me at the perfect time. And he was asking about film cameras and the rangefinder and using 135 millimeter lenses. And so I have with me here a film camera. This is a Leica MP 0.72 camera, and we're gonna put a 135 millimeter lens on it. This is the longest lens that the camera has frame lines for. So you've got 28, 35, 50, 75, 90, and 135.
What was the guy's name?
Yogi.
Yogi, this is dedicated to you.
This is dedicated to you. So here, this is a previous version of the 135 Tele Elmar. And I just wanted you to see it since we have one. And you know, when you're focusing one of these cameras, 135 millimeters is the smallest of the frame lines. And it's at the end of the rangefinder base. And that makes focusing tricky. And it makes composition tricky as well. And so Leica makes magnifiers, a 1.25x and a 1.4, that magnify what you see in the viewfinder. And it makes focusing one of these lenses at, say, 20 feet.
Does that have a magnifier on it?
It doesn't,
Oh,
no.
okay.
The magnifier adds a little bit of relief onto the back. It's just a little cylinder, a piece of glass that magnifies. And it adds a fair amount of relief on the back of it. But it magnifies, it magnifies everything that you see in the viewfinder of the camera, including the little rectangular focus patch.
Because there's no live view on that one.
Yeah, there's no live. You could stare all day at the back of this. There's no live view on this one. And so if you have a camera that has one of these frame line selector levers, you can move it over all the way to the left, and it'll show you 35 and 135, and the smaller box is 135. And so, I mean, it's really a tiny, tiny portion of the entire viewfinder, and it's very easy to strain your eyes when focusing the 90 and 135 millimeter lenses. And so there are lots of videos, Yogi was telling me, about the digital cameras and 135s, because you can use electronic viewfinders, you can use the LCD screen, you can do all kinds of stuff, but there's nothing really online, video-wise, about a 135 on a film camera. And so it is a little bit of a tricky bit of business to compose, let alone focus.
How long ago did they come out with 135 lens?
Oh, they've had 135 since the 40s.
Yeah, so I mean, it can be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The more recently manufactured the camera, the brighter the rangefinder, the easier it is to see that focus patch, especially if you're in low light. And as we've talked about before, this is probably going to bore you, Keith, because you've sat through this talk 2 or 3 times now, but when you're not looking through the lens of the camera. And so when you're composing, you're looking through this window, but your lens is down. He's falling asleep.
Oh,
the lens is down and to the
that.
right. And so the frame lines that you see for any focal length in your M camera are only an approximation of what you're really going to get. And you get used
It's like
to
the passenger side mirror on a car.
objects are closer than they may appear.
Or something like that.
That's right, something like that. Everything's down and to the right. So as you sight and compose your image, and you're looking at the frame lines, and you have, you know, your frame line neatly positioned on this piece of architecture or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
It's not going to be in frame, you know, or you're going to get more of it than you'll think, because your actual image is going to be down and to the right.
That's what cropping is for.
That's what cropping is for, right? And you can try to pinch this all you want, but nothing's going to happen.
Who's the anti-cropper? Take that. Who's the anti-cropper?
So especially now with digital, that's a really good, it's a good stance to have, I think, because it's super easy with zoom lenses and with digital and with being able to manipulate our displays and manipulate our zooms. It's very easy to not really fully explore the notion of focal length. So if you take your Leica camera and you waltz out on the street and
That's
you have
heavy. I mean, people,
only a 50.
Feel free to pause this video and think about that for a minute and just, you know, sit with it. Okay.
Okay. The answer is, it is almost impossible to see in the Leica rangefinder, film or digital, in the rangefinder, exactly what you're going to get, because the frame lines are only an approximation. But one gets so used to it, to knowing that your actual image is down and to the right a little bit, it becomes second nature. It does become a little bit more challenging, as Yogi mentions, with 135, longer focal lengths, especially 135, because you're out at the end of the real measurable base of the rangefinder. And you say, well, what about infinity? Well, that's infinity, that's different. What we're talking about is focusing something like a 135 just shy of infinity and being able to really nail that focus, or even anywhere in its focus range, because the area that you're looking at is so small and the focus patch is so small.
We said we weren't going to be technical, and I think we've just spent literally 20 minutes talking about
technical stuff.
That's okay.
All right, so enough technical mumbo jumbo. I got lots of angry emails. No, just kidding. We got, that's the most recent one, but we also had some other suggestions. I'd like to talk about a few things. Right. Right. Somebody shut up that Tamarkin guy.
Can you hit the subscribe button? If you've watched this long, you want more.
Yeah. Then you're bona fide. Then you should be a subscriber. Can we talk about something? Don't put tape on your camera.
But
don't put tape on your camera.
But they'll know it's a Leica then.
Oh, the agony of it all. If you insist upon putting tape on your camera,
where would you put it if you were going to put it?
Well,
would you
people
put
want to put it
over
the red dot. Sure, I understand that.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
I get it.
I understand why people do it, but it ruins the finish of Leica cameras. It ruins it.
$10,000 or $9,000 for a camera, and then cover up the.
Right, exactly. That you then have to dress up.
Can I put it really bluntly to people?
Please.
Nobody fucking cares what brand of camera you're carrying around. You're not that important. Nobody cares.
Bingo.
They think it's junk.
Yeah, actually, lots of people look at the camera, even with the red dot, and they're like, oh, that's so cool. Look at that old style camera. And they're like, oh, it's digital. And they're like, what? And because it doesn't. Most of the people who see you with this camera, they're not going to know what it is.
I was just in a coffee shop in Chicago. And the barista asked me, is that a film camera? And I was like, no, it's digital. Look at that.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my gosh.
That was so
yeah,
cool.
So it was great.
That's a nice interaction. And so, I mean, I understand.
No tape though. You were being serious about the reality of really screwing up.
In fact, we've seen so much of this that we now no longer buy cameras that have tape on them.
Even if they've had tape.
That's the only. He knew he was going to get me with that
electric tape?
No.
Scotch?
Duct? There's a kind of tape called gaffer tape, which is like duct tape but better, and it's a cloth back tape, and you can get it at some photo stores.
Crap on the back.
No, that stuff is great, man. That won't mess up the finish. If it's a high quality gaff tape, it won't. That won't.
You heard it here first.
But still, it's so scuggly. Why would you do that? I don't know. I don't care. No judgies. Do what you want.
Plus, if you don't want the red dot in there, get a screwdriver and just
pry it off.
Pry it off.
Yeah.
Actually, is it true to get this off if you just warm it up and start wiggling your finger a little bit, it'll start to turn and come off? I read that on the internet.
That's true.
Okay.
I mean, actually, you would have to have quite a fever running through you to get enough heat to loosen the glue. But the little disc hides COVID. The little disc hides the hole in the top plate so the rangefinder can be adjusted. Incidentally, we recommend not working on your camera yourself. Just don't. But we can change these out if you like. The adhesive.
Once you take that off, you'll be fixing a hole where the rain gets in.
That's right. It won't be weather sealed anymore.
No, it won't be.
That's right, Mr. Kite. So there. Oh, look at the sensor is all.
I hope people watch this and pause and catch all of those little intricate things like that.
I know. I hope so too.
Because if they don't, it's such a.
I know. I expect more angry emails.
I have too many F-bombs this time. Sorry about that, audience.
I know, right? Well, I've got a terrible mouth. What were we going to talk about? Oh.
I know we were talking about the red dot. Some people have black dots. Some people have no dots.
Black dot.
The black paint camera has no dot.
Yeah.
So if you want a camera that doesn't have the logo on it, buy the black paint camera.
Yeah.
And you can take a Sharpie and fill in the engraving on top.
You just do the Sharpie. That's right. So I don't know. There has been a lot of cameras coming in with tape on them, and I totally understand why people do this. But I think it's probably not so widely known that electrical tape in particular will permanently stain the camera. So Don't do it. And if you have questions
The
about
logic
it,
is flawed. I mean, if
What
you're
logic?
walking around with this, there's two things. The criminal who's going to take it off of you
yeah,
either thinks it's junk to start with, or they know what it is, and the tape's not going to fool them.
that's right. And they're going to wait until you go to a restaurant and put it down on the edge of the table and it'll be gone. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And I'll tell you, when I traveled before this crazy ass pandemic that we're in, when I traveled a lot, most people that I met, they would pay no attention to me because I don't have a big flash or anything. And I'm not pointing a giant lens at them. And then many people will come over and say, is that the new Leica? And then you would make a new friend. So it is really conversation piece, and we really are like a family. And it really is a nice thing between Leica owners that we recognize the cameras and love the brand and the style so very much. It really is, it's a nice thing. I'll give you an example that's not so distant from it. I drive a Subaru STi, WRX STi, and all Subaru owners of WRX and STi, we always wave at each other. And it's a thing, it's just a thing that we do. And because Subaru owners are very proud of their STIs and their WRXs. And so we always wave at each other. And I got to tell you, I get more of a kick out of that than I would if it was a Maserati. Maserati owners don't wave to each other. They cut each other off and flip, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's like, you know, love. It's what makes Subaru a Subaru. You know, and that's Leica. It's what makes Leica a Leica.
We should put Apple, Subaru. These should all be in the credits. Like,
Yeah, we got.
do we
we're
get
gonna
some sort
to.
of, what do you call it, like a little bit of?
Do you think they'll sponsor us?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
I once tried to get a vodka company to sponsor me on a mountaineering expedition so that I could drink martinis on the top of a 15,000-foot mountain in Colorado.
And they were like,
no. Like, we don't need knuckleheads. Nowadays,
There's some
that's
sort
all
of-
you see.
well, yeah, but they're not necessarily sponsored. They're Instagramming it,
Right,
and then they're
well,
hoping for later.
This was back in the day before the iPhone and before you could make a video of yourself. And now, I mean, I would have been an influencer. Anyway, enough about all that bullshit. I hope you've enjoyed us talking about Leica. I'm sorry it's been so long since we were able to finagle our way into your living rooms or kitchens or dining rooms or bathrooms, wherever it is you're watching this. I hope that you've enjoyed this little talk. You have anything else to say before?
Yeah, I feel like this was a very substance-filled hour, and that you will undoubtedly come away from this thinking that you've gained knowledge that you never thought you would gain, and that you had experiences you never thought you would experience, and that you have this urge to go out and shoot. Really, seriously, I hope that you've enjoyed this hour. Please like us in the thingy and subscribe on the doohickey.
Hit the,
And
do the ding-a-ling.
we'll be back.
And the
I mean,
bling-a-ling.
probably.
Yeah, man, we'll be back.
And please, I mean, watch all those other guys' videos too, and women's videos too, because they're good too.
I bet there's something you never seen before, huh? Like a base plate.
Oh, I love
bet
that.
you never
Because
seen
what the
this.
hell are they good for now?
Right? You don't need them anymore, huh?
No. Ditch your base plate. Your base plate
Yeah.
is now
You don't need
your...
that anymore. Cheers. Good to see you again,
Good
buddy.
to see you. And this edition
see you
of
next
the
time.
Oscar Barnack Hour has been brought to you by Hoffbräu,
More good German beer.
Apple, Subaru, and base plates.
And base plates. I just want to say for the record that this base plate was really bent and messed up before I opened a beer with it. So I didn't just ruin a base plate. I wouldn't do that. I did see somebody online. I don't know where this was, if it was on YouTube maybe or something like that.
Try this one.
Yeah, give that one a shot. He made a peanut butter sandwich out of 2 Leicas. He literally he took a Leica and just like slathered it with peanut butter and put, I think it was jelly maybe on the other one, and just pushed them together. I thought it was hilarious.
Here, this can be an outtake. The M11. It ain't your grandpa's Leica.
That's right. Like, what else are they going to get these cameras
I'm thinking
to do?
M12, if they could get a little bit of space over here, they could put a slot for an Apple AirTag. and you could just slide it in there.
That would not surprise me if they did that.
Low jack your Leica.
Low jack your Leica. That's actually
Everyone,
that's a great idea.
Hashtag low jack your Leica.
That's a great idea.
Hashtag Barnack Hour.
Well, you know what we should
Hashtag-
do is we should do Leica Pimp My Ride. I've seen so many people do so much interesting things with, like, I mean, not putting tape on them, but like there was one gal who she called her M3 Marilyn, and it was a beautiful M3 camera. It had pink vulcanite on it, and man, did it look good. And she was like, "Oh, you probably hate that." I was like, "That looks amazing, man."
You know who did 3, or maybe he did 4 of them, really hand-painted, hand-designed Leicas was Bellamy Hunt at Japan Camera for his 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, I saw those. They're
he
spectacular.
He did some really interesting ones, yeah.
They're spectacular. Yeah, Bellamy, he's terrific. Man.
Another
terrific.
sponsor of the program.
Dude.
He doesn't even know it.
Japan Camera Hunter. Look him up. He's terrific.
Subaru.
And he does, right. He's up there with Subaru, Leica. I mean, he's terrific.
Apple.
He does great videos and he's got great products. So if you're looking for something that he has, let me tell you, you could buy from him. You don't have a worry in the world. He's terrific.
Base Plate Company Incorporated.
So you bought stock in Base Plate Company and now
did.
you're going broke.
I did.
That's
You know who told me to do it?
Craig.
Jim Rice.
All right. Well, I think we've done as much damage as we can do in one day. We've managed to piss everybody off. We'll do this again soon, and we'll incorporate some of your suggestions. So feel free to let us know what else you wanna see, and what else you wanna hear about,
Or what you don't want to see.
or what you don't wanna see. Sure.
I mean, if there's something you don't like,
Yeah.
put
it
a
in the
nasty
comments.
comment.
Yeah. I can take a note.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Thanks again for coming in, Keith. It's great to see you, man.
Happy Barnack Hour.
Happy Barnack Hour indeed. Take care, y'all.